and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
And today we're going to be reviewing Goofy Movie Game. The Goofy Movie Game?
A Goofy Movie Game.
A Goofy Movie Game.
Right there.
Oh, that is a tiny little A. There we go. This is a Prospero Hall game, so I assume you can find this in Target, as many of your other games. And it's based on a Goofy movie, also known as The Goofy Movie. Yeah. Anyways, I'll show you how it's played.
A Goofy Movie is a set collection game where players are trying to move across the board and get to LA before Powerline reaches there. And in the process, they're gaining cards and making sets. At the beginning of each turn, players are going to simultaneously reveal cards. If you're the only player with that particular color, you automatically gain the card from that slot. If you match colors with someone else, the person with the highest number gains the card. Then players will take turns starting with the lowest number in order, and they're going to move 1 or 2 spaces depending on what their card says. If they move to a spot with a pin, they'll go ahead and immediately take that card of that color. Or if they roll to or move to a space with a die, they'll roll that die. And this die has different possibilities. You can either move Powerline closer to LA, or you can move Goofy and then take whatever card he lands on. At the end of the game, players score up all of their cards as well as any bonus tokens that they may have gained throughout the game. And then if they made it to LA, they also might have additional points. The person with the most wins.
All right, so what are your initial thoughts on this? Were you excited to play it? Were you not excited to play it?
I was, yeah. I mean, this game definitely has that nostalgia for me. You know, I grew up on it, introduced my son to it not too long ago, and so I was excited to see what they do. I think, you know, having the IP, having the artwork, that kind of stuff, they could do some really interesting things, and so I did go into it with a lot of excitement, yeah. Then that was all.
It might not have stuck?
Yeah, no, it did not
So
stick.
I went into this because I'm always a little bit like on edge when I see an IP, especially if it's like a millennial IP. I'm like, okay, like who are we really selling this to? Are we selling to the parents? Are we selling this for the kids? And so I went into it with kind of that grain of salt, and I'm glad I did, basically. Yeah. That's where I'm at. So talking about like components or cards and stuff, they pull a lot of the artwork from the movie, which is interesting. But they don't have the characters in most of the artwork. Did you see that? Did you notice
I did. That was really interesting. They did kind of take them out, which I don't understand why, other than they wanted to only represent the characters that are in here. But you're also selling it to people who've seen the movie, so they would know, so they know it's a scene. It was a really weird, and also to have so much of the artwork in the IP, it was weird how much of the artwork was repeated. You know, like there wasn't much of it. There's really just a couple different things over and over and over again. Like your character cards are all the same image.
Yeah, same character, and it's like, just a different colored background.
Yeah. So I definitely found that odd.
There wasn't a ton art-wise. Thematically, I feel like the game also doesn't make a ton of sense.
Right. Because
we're trying to rush to LA, but we're not the main 2 characters. We're a variety of characters. And why we're picking up set collections, I'm not sure. I know you're way more thematic than I am, so I tend to not care.
Yeah.
But
I gave up on theme like halfway through the explanation of the game. I was like, okay, this is definitely a Goofy Movie game, not the Goofy Movie, the game. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yes,
it's definitely like, oh, here's this universe and this world and this IP you're familiar with. Do something else, you know, completely unrelated. So yeah, I kind of gave up on the theme.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Do you have any other thoughts?
I mean, I guess kind of as we go into the final thoughts here, I think what I had to narrow down to what really bothered me about it was I don't know who the target audience is. You bring in, you know, it's that IP for the millennials. We grew up on this game. I'm sorry, not the game. Well, we grew up on this movie and have a lot of nostalgia with it. But the game is for kids. You know, but then for kids, I feel like the mechanisms just weren't quite a match. You know, the box does say 7+, and I would probably say 7, maybe even 8 or 9+. Like a 7-year-old, I don't know, I think they would, if they understood the game, then they would probably be frustrated by it. Like, I don't know if their maturity is there. So it's either not going to understand it mechanically, like when do you play high versus when do you play low? When is it advantageous to take the moves over the automatic collection? But then I can definitely see, again, that emotional maturity of really getting frustrated by that mechanism. Again, kid dependent, I'm speaking specifically for mine. But then for an adult, it's just not fun. You know, so it's like...
I think that's the thing. You talk about emotional maturity, and I think, like, I just don't love that mechanism. This idea of, if I misread you, and we pick the same color based on zero information,
information, yeah.
If I misguess, then I just don't get anything, or you just don't get anything.
Right.
And you see that in games like Go Nuts for Donuts, which my daughter loves and adores, but the set collection is so much more interesting, and there's way more cards to pick from, and I don't know, I just feel like there's more to that game than this.
And I really feel like they missed again. They missed the target with that push and pull, because in that set collection, it is open set collection, so you're seeing what people are going for, and I guess open selection, not draft really, you know, I guess maybe kind of a draft. So you can kind of see it, but it just doesn't have that tension of push and pull. It's more like, oh, you got to that? All right, I'm going to give up on that. And there's only like, what, 4 or 5 maybe different kind of items that you're collecting. So very limited, which is okay. I'm not opposed to that. But it's also, it kind of pigeonholes you into, okay, well, I'm just going to go for this one thing because nobody else can touch me on it right now, so I'm going to go hard on this.
Yeah.
You know, and then the tokens that are out, I think, were kind of overpowered. If you don't get the right one for the one item you went to, then I mean the scores were all over the map on our play. It was like 12 to 35 kind of thing, you know. And I was like, this is not fun for anybody. No one's winning right now, like emotionally or fun factor wise. Someone definitely won, but
I also feel like the decision space is not really there.
Right.
Like you're choosing your card based on whether you want to move 1 or 2 spaces.
Right.
And whether or not you want to get those cards in the front. But then you're like, do I want to go to a space where I roll a die and I might not get anything? Or do I go to a space where I can guarantee get something, but it's not really what I want?
Right.
Like, there's not a lot of spaces you can go to. And so I felt like there was not a lot of choices there.
Yeah. So I just found it clunky. I found it missed its mark on both the people are getting to it for nostalgia, but also over in the kid crew. So I feel like it was just miss.
So what's your score?
Know? So my score, I came in at a 4.5 for this, which is actually higher than I thought, because I was like, you know, I don't know. It's not a good game. But it's just higher.
Sure on
because
the 4.5?
I am sure on the 4.5, because I think it did, at least there was a couple times that I smiled, because I am in that nostalgia kind of like, oh, I remember this scene. So it did pull at the heartstrings a little bit. And so because of that, it brought it up. But definitely a 4.5. I would not recommend the game. I wouldn't quite actively avoid playing it, but I would definitely strategically plan bathroom breaks when they were trying to see who wanted to play. So 4.5.
Strategic bathroom days.
Yeah.
Well, I am going way above you with a 5.
Oh,
because I also
shocker.
I just didn't feel like there was any meat to this. Like that's the thing, is I give a caveat for kids games because I feel like they're not supposed to be as in depth and as meaty as I love games. But I've played so many better kids games.
Absolutely.
Games that have better set collection, that have better decisions on your turn, that have better art, that have, you know what I mean? I just think
that get you into the movie. You know,
yeah,
I mean, put me in the Goofy movie.
Like, there's so much else that I've seen and gotten from other kids' games. And so I give it a 5. I don't quite give it a 4 because my daughter did enjoy it. She had fun. So we played it. We watched the Goofy movie. We played it again. She appreciated the characters. She enjoyed the theme. I had that, like, moment that I think you're meant to have with this, of, like, introducing this to your children. But at the end of the day, she hasn't asked for it since.
It's a moment. So you get a moment.
You get a moment, yeah. Exactly.
And then you move on.
Yep. All right, well, thanks for joining us today here at the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Enjoy road tripping and playing Goofy games.